The following is a presentation of TFNN. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Namaste. Welcome to Mindful Living, where we want to help you get healthy, feel good, and live life to the fullest every single day. It's Allie Ford here, and Tom is out tonight, but we send him lots of love. And I'm honored and privileged to be joined by my guest and co-host, Calley Masson, Ashtanga yoga teacher and cancer survivor, who after diagnosis was given less than 5% chance to live for 5 years. And yet here she is sitting next to me. She's a shining example of how to live life to the fullest and a light in this world and inspiration to all. Calley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me, Allie. I'm happy to be here.
And me too. It's a beautiful day here in Tampa Bay, and summer is upon us. It's getting hot outside.
Yeah.
Which is good news for you because you love paddleboarding.
I can't wait. I'm going this weekend. I've got plans already. Saturday is paddleboard day.
Yeah, Calley actually introduced me to paddleboarding.
Oh, yeah, we went out. You did awesome.
You were a good teacher. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's 88 degrees today, so I was cranking the air conditioning. I said, definitely summer's here.
Yeah, we've been lucky though. I mean, it's not as humid as it normally is this time of year.
True.
It's beautiful out.
It's been
Can't complain.
Beautiful. So, as our motto says, we want to live life to the fullest. And to me, you're an inspiration and an example of how to do that every day. Every time I see you're doing something fun. So, tell me about your day-to-day. What did you do to get out there and live life?
Today was fun. I didn't do anything outrageous or crazy, but I have a pet sitting business, and I got to hang out with a bunch of awesome dogs today. I spent a lot of company with animals, so yeah, it was fun.
Talk about an animal lover. I don't know anyone who loves animals more than you. Every living creature. What is the name of your dog sitting or pet sitting business?
It's Wagging Rights.
Wagging Rights. Super cute. Super cute. I love that. Well, so many of us have been touched by cancer. In fact, it's the second leading cause of death in the United States today, accounting for 1 out of every 4 deaths. So I know that your story will help so many people and give them hope.
Yeah, I hope so.
So let's just get into your history and background. How old were you when you got the diagnosis?
I was diagnosed at 21.
21. And how did you know that this might be happening? Did you have symptoms?
Yeah, I did. For about 6 months, I was not feeling well. I was in college at the time. It was my senior year at Arizona State, and I was just so tired all the time. I would go to my classes and come home and just get in bed and basically sleep all day. I started having low-grade fevers all the time, and towards the end, right when I started going to find out what was wrong with me, I was nauseous and throwing up a lot, and I kept going to the health center at school, and they really weren't set up or equipped to diagnose something like that. They just kept running blood work and not really sure what was going on. At the end, they finally just told me to go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room where they were able to do a CAT scan. And I mean, seriously, at that point, when I would lay down, I had a bulge coming out of the side. At 21 years old, it never crossed my mind that it could be cancer. I thought I had
the front of your body?
On the front of my body, yeah. I thought I had pulled a muscle. I thought I had maybe some kind of inflammation from something.
Right.
But, yeah, never ever thought
and
that
what was the
as
bulge?
something was growing. It was a tumor. A tumor in my kidney. So I was in Arizona at the time. The doctors there thought that maybe it was an infected cyst, so they wanted to pierce it, drain it, so that it would be easier to take the kidney out. And my oldest brother, who's a doctor, and he was just finishing up his all his medical schooling, and he was on his way to Seattle to look for a house because he had taken his first job out there. And he rerouted his trip, came to Phoenix, looked at my scans, checked me out of the hospital, brought me back to Florida, to Shands at University of Florida. And they did a biopsy, and I think 2 days later I was in surgery, and it was
2 days later. That was fast.
8-pound, 14-ounce malignancy. It basically, there was no kidney bigger than I weighed when I was born.
Yeah.
Bigger than a baby. There was no like kidney tissue left when they were looking at it in radiology. It was just basically all malignancy.
And we talked a little bit about the kind of cancer that you were diagnosed with. Would you explain that?
Yeah, it was weird because it wasn't a kidney cancer. It wasn't any of the cancers they thought would go to a kidney, and they tested for all of that. They couldn't figure it out. So my dad and I, we started going from hospital to hospital, you know, MD Anderson, all these like big ones that are known, and it was here in Tampa at Moffitt that they figured it out. They had done genetic testing on it, and it was a bone cancer that didn't go to bone. Instead, it went to soft tissue, so it went to my kidney. And so they had removed my whole kidney, but the vena cava runs through it, which is the main kind of artery running through our body. So they thought there was probably some vascular invasion throughout my body, so that was why they decided to do chemotherapy.
Right. When you got the prognosis, the cancer was called peripheral neuroectodermal tumor. Or
peanut.
Peanut for short. So you got the diagnosis, and they did surgery right away. But even before the surgery, was this when they told you, look, this is very detrimental, it's bad news?
I didn't find out it was a malignancy, that it was cancer, until after surgery.
Okay.
And I think that might have just been because they were dealing with my brother, because you know, I was young, and you know, he had put the team together. That was where he worked, so he probably knew, but I didn't know until after surgery. A poor student came in they come in, it's a teaching hospital, so they come in to practice taking histories. So this student came in to take a history on me, and she said, you know, I see that your mom had cancer as well. And I was like, as well? What?
Oh, you didn't know.
So that's how I found out, and she just kind of backed out of the room and went and got my doctor. And
wow. And that's true. I mean, so your mom had passed of cancer already.
At a very young age. She was 35.
She was 35. How old were you when she passed?
I was 10.
So were you concerned at this point at all in your life that there might be hereditary risk factors?
You know, I hadn't been. I think, you know, as a young person, you kind of feel invincible.
Sure.
And, but yeah, after finding out that it was cancer, it was malignant, that was really the only experience I had to kind of think about, and it was horrible. And she, you know, she was very sick, and it was a very short amount of time from when she was diagnosed to when she passed away. So it was really scary hearing that news.
What kind of cancer did she have?
She had cervical cancer.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so here you are, this young girl, and then, so she went and got your doctor, and is that when he came in and told you?
Yeah.
Did he tell you the type at that point?
No,
or
they didn't know.
know.
They didn't know at that point. It was 5 weeks before we found out.
Oh, wow.
And as my dad and I were going to these different hospitals with our labs and our scans and all this, I mean, doctors were looking at it and saying, it's highly, highly aggressive. You just want to give it some chemo. You just want to treat it now. But you really can't treat it until you know what it is.
Sure.
There's 100 different diseases that are cancer.
Right.
And there's 100 different drugs. And all of them have their own little recipe of you give a little of this, a little of that for this cancer. So you can't treat it until you know what it is. So Moffitt was awesome.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, it's so
Moffitt was awesome.
That you find good caregivers. So you went in for surgery, and then healing from the surgery. How long before you started the chemotherapy?
5 weeks.
Okay, and so during that time is when you found out what the prognosis was, that it was this peanut cancer, that it's very aggressive. They gave you 5% chance of living. 5 years.
5 years.
So how did you feel at that point? What was your reaction to that?
It was awful to hear that, but I don't know. I think a lot of times as the patient, and maybe some other people who are the patient, you know, there's a different dynamic for the patient and the family members. And for me, I just wanted to kind of be as strong and positive as I could for my dad and my sister, you know, for people who they looked really scared. So I kind of, you know, took this news and just tried to be positive, and that was kind of the main thing right from the start, that I just kept, you know, saying, be positive, be positive, be positive. I had to remind myself a lot at the beginning, and then, you know, it was a year process. 16 courses of chemo. So by the end, I didn't have to remind myself so much. It was, you know, the way I was going through it.
Right.
I was being as positive as I could.
Which says a lot about your personality. Because was there ever a time when you yourself felt hopeless or anxiety? Or
Yeah, I think that's natural, and I would try to, which may or may not have been the best way to deal with it. I would try to kind of hide that from my family so that they wouldn't be scared. I thought that would scare them if I felt scared or if I felt hopeless.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I would definitely have, you know, crying fits or throw myself on the bed, and then just try to, as quickly as possible, just kind of, okay, let's just, you know, get through today and make today a good day and make today happy as it can be.
So this brings up another interesting question, and you know, the fact that the caregivers or the doctors told you your sort of expectancy, your life expectancy. Do you feel like that is something a patient should hear? Do you feel like, I mean, you are so strong-willed. I mean,
I know it definitely could be something that sends you down a spiral.
Of course,
you know,
yeah.
Scary stuff. But I guess it is your right to know. You
Yeah.
know, you may need to tie up some relationships that maybe have been damaged, or you know,
sure, yeah.
you know. So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
kind of tricky.
It really is. I wonder if, you know, I mean, I think it's one thing to say, look, it's an aggressive cancer and we need to be
I
aggressive
know, but
with
to give you
the therapy,
yeah,
you know, but you may not
5%,
be here
yeah.
in 6 months. I think that,
I
well,
know.
you know, and let's face it, I think a lot of people go out there, they're curious and they they do the research themselves.
I know, and there's so much out there. There's almost too much
On the
out
internet,
there
yeah.
to know. But I mean, it is important to see a lot of doctors and do a lot of your own research and be as knowledgeable and educated as you can. But it can be scary having all that information.
Exactly. And so you started chemotherapy. What did you have, how was your experience with that? A lot of symptoms?
The very first chemotherapy I did, and this is really interesting as far as how much our mind affects how we feel and what's going on with our bodies, because so I was really scared going into that first chemotherapy, and again, all I had to kind of base what I was about to go through with was what my mom had gone through, and she was really, really sick from it, and
from the chemo.
From the chemo. The chemo made her probably sicker than the cancer was making her,
A
you know,
lot
and a
I've
lot
heard
of times,
that.
you know, it's the chemo that kills you or the chemo that makes you so sick.
Because it suppresses the immune system.
Yeah. So the night before that first chemo was scheduled, I was so sick. I was up all night throwing up, because this is the symptoms I was imagining I was going to have. This is what I was expecting.
Right.
So this is what my body manifested.
Of course.
And we went in the next morning, and I had been up all night. I was green, and they were like, okay, let's give you a day to just kind of relax, try to recuperate, eat something before we start this. So we started a couple days later.
Wow.
And I just tried to kind of play these little mental games and calm myself down, but kind of crazy. Like, I manifested that.
Yeah, we talk about that on
Mind
the show
over
all
matter.
the time, mind over matter, mindful living. And I mean, on the one hand, you approach this challenge, this health challenge, with a very positive outlook, and at the same time...
But it was still in there.
Of
I was
course.
still terrified of it. Yeah.
And so did you have those same side effects during the chemo?
It's sometimes, yeah. The difference between the 11 years between my mom having it and me having it was they had a lot of rescue drugs when I went through it. So they had a lot to kind of prevent a lot of that. And after my first treatment, we went out afterwards. We went to dinner. I was like, I'm fine. I'm going to cruise through this. And, you know, they had given me prescriptions. Take this before you start feeling sick. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to take any of this. I feel really good. Yeah. And then a few days later, it hit me. And it was like, whoa. So I had to go back into the hospital and get something intravenously that was a little bit stronger. So yeah, I mean, after that I did take the drugs before I got sick for nausea and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a lot of just feeling really tired, feeling really nauseous, hair falling out. Didn't realize how vain I was until the hair started falling out. That was actually the first big cry I had, was the hair, like
How
putting
long
my
did
hair up
that
in a
take?
ponytail.
How long?
3 weeks.
Wow,
3 weeks after the first
so
treatment.
fast.
And the doctor said it's going to fall out in 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, I went to put my hair up in a ponytail, and that's when it started coming out.
My goodness. Well, I'm so glad that you're here to share this story of inspiration and hope with our listeners. And we're just coming up on a break. When we get back, we'll hear more about your experience and what you suggest for people who might be dealing with it themselves.
Okay.
Stay right there, folks. We'll be right back.
In quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders, take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back, folks, to Mindful Living. I'm here with Calley Masson, amazing Ashtanga yoga teacher, dear friend of mine, and cancer survivor. And it is an honor and a blessing to be sitting next to you here today. Before the break, we were talking about your treatment plan and how you started the chemo, and it just shocked me or dawned on me how the chemo, while it is designed to heal you and fight the cancer, you know, how it can make you so sick. You said your hair fell out within 3 weeks of getting that treatment.
Yeah.
And I wondered what your thoughts are on holistic healing, because you've got that option these days, you know? I mean, was that available to you then?
Back then, this was 95. I'm sure there was lots of that around. I was 21 years old. I had no idea. I didn't know anything. And I just kind of did whatever the doctors presented to me, and this was our course, and this is what we were going to do. I think if I was to go through it now, I would probably definitely explore some more holistic kinds of treatment, and maybe do a combination of the two. You know, there's so much out there, and I think it really has to be such a personal decision.
Right.
And you really don't know. You really can't say until you're in that position.
Sure. What you would
do. Kind of about to possibly lose your life. You know, I think you're willing to try anything at that point.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, what you say makes sense, though, to research maybe a combination of the two. Some holistic therapies, like we've talked about, you know, with many guests on the show. Acupuncture can help manage the side effects of the chemo and the pain, and, you know, the nausea, so that you can eat, or other things like reflexology, or you know, even yoga meditation, which we'll talk about. But I was just reading a quote. My husband and I were talking about this. Steve Jobs actually did pursue a lot of holistic treatments for he had pancreatic cancer. And I was just reading this article that said Steve Jobs regretted trying to beat the cancer with alternative medicine for so long before he agreed to undergo surgery.
That's sad.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I like you said, you never know. What would you do?
And I mean, what's going to
choice.
work for one person isn't going to work for another.
That's
so,
right.
I mean, you've really just got to,
Trust
you know,
what you decide.
do your research, have faith in whatever it is that you decide to go with.
Because that's got to be a huge part of it, having the faith.
Yeah.
Like you said, the mindset.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So important. Yeah, because you also hear then the complete opposite side of the story where, you know, people go and heal themselves with nothing but holistic means. And there's the Ann Wigmore story. We had the director of the Hippocrates Institute on, Brian Clement, who said, you know, she actually cured stage 4 cancer, colon cancer, with wheatgrass and holistic therapy. And so, yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. There's a lot out there. And at least, I mean, there's a lot of options.
Yeah, and
if you're in
smart,
a situation,
as you said, to research them all. So here you are at this young age, 21, and now, were you still in school, or did you?
It was, the surgery was in April of my senior year, so I really only had like a month left of school, and my professors were all super awesome, and they just, rather than finals, they asked me to just write a paper on anything I wanted to write a paper on, and I would get my grade. So
great.
Yeah.
So you were able to finish college.
Yeah.
And then how long did you go through the chemo?
For a year. So it was every 21 days I would start a new course, and we went through 16 treatments. And, you know, it was kind of a cumulative effect. At the beginning, I was kind of sailing through it a little bit, and started getting sicker and sicker from it as we went along. And chemo attacks fast-growing cells, which are the cancer cells, but it's also your hair. That's why you lose your hair, your nails, your red blood cells, which carry oxygen.
Wow.
And your white blood cells, which is your immune system. So your immune system starts failing. You get really sick from anything. Anytime I went out, I had to wear a mask. Get on a plane, for sure, wear a mask. And I had to have 3 blood transfusions because just the red blood cells were so low. They weren't getting to the point where they could reproduce themselves, whatever their life cycle is. They were just battered down, and that's what carried oxygen. So I was becoming really, my heart was beating really fast. I would put on a t-shirt and be like, exhausted. So yeah, 3 blood transfusions, which was scary.
That is scary.
Yeah.
My goodness. I had no idea, Calley.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was a eventful year. It was a tough year, but I mean, a year that I learned so much about myself and how I was going to be for the rest of my life.
Of course, of course. When you were going through the chemo, did you change your diet? Were you exercising? Or were you able to?
I wasn't so much, but you know, and back then I was a runner. I wasn't a yogi yet. I hadn't even taken a yoga class.
I think you were a yogi in your heart and your head.
Right.
You just weren't doing the poses.
Yeah, right. So yeah, when I was in school, I was on a track scholarship. I was a runner. So when I would feel good, I would try to get out and just run around my block or something, and it just was so nice to be moving and to feel the sun on me. So that was really, really helpful. Felt really good.
How long was it before you actually got a clean bill of health, or before you were told you were in remission? Just
because this cancer was so unusual. I mean, barely any people have this cancer. It's a really weird thing for a cancer to do. They wrote an article about it when it was diagnosed because it was just, you know, something for the journals.
Wow.
So they really didn't want to say we're in remission yet for a while. They looked at me for 10 years. And in the beginning, I had to go back every 2 months for scans. And then it was every 3 months. And then it was every 6 months. And then it was every year. So
what kind of scans? Just like blood work?
Well, we would do CAT scans and bone scans. Because it was a bone cancer, they always wanted to do bone scans to make sure that nothing was lighting up in my bones. And they would do CAT scans just to make sure it hadn't, you know, shown back up, and well, I don't have that kidney, but anywhere else.
So you had the kidney.
And then that's a lot of radiation, and and you know, they inject you with radioactive material to see what lights up. So
yeah, and for 10 years they were reviewing you.
Towards the end, it was only once a year, but still, that's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you were definitely a case study with this rare cancer.
Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting. And yet they still gave you, in a cancer they didn't see very often, they still gave you such a bleak
just because there was
prognosis.
so few cases of it, and those few cases did not do well.
Didn't do well.
But we went with the same protocol that those few cases had done, same drugs, same whatever.
treatment plan.
I think just being young had a lot to do with, bouncing back.
What else do you feel like had a lot to do with it? I mean, you mentioned...
I mentioned staying positive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that is something that and not that people who don't make it through their battle with cancer were not positive or did not want to live as much as me. But the whole time I was in the hospital, I was positive. I would look at everyone else and I would say, I'm not sick. I'm not sick, and I would believe it.
Yeah. I think you made a really good point, because whether or not you do live, I mean, let's face it, people die from all kinds of diseases, but that attitude in and of itself will certainly make whatever life you do have
I know. And that's what I was kind of thinking, if this is the end of it, do I want my last few months or years to be full of fear and anxiety and stress and, moping around in my bed, or can I be happy? Can I be happy in this situation?
How?
You can.
You can. How? How do you stay positive, especially when you're feeling sick? You just, were you meditating or practicing anything like that?
I didn't think I was, but I think I was. I didn't know what it was. But before meetings with the doctor, before getting scans to see where I was, there was definitely a time where I would just sit in the waiting room in the office and just try to tune in, quiet things down.
Right. Just so you
calm down.
You feel like you were in tune when you felt your mind racing about the worry and the fear.
Yeah. There was a way to control it.
Yeah.
Which was huge. There wasn't a lot I could control.
That's right.
So I could control that.
That's amazing. Do you meet many cancer patients now, or survivors? At least you're teaching yoga now. So.
Yeah, I taught for a while. I taught a cancer patients class, and somebody else is teaching it now. Somebody awesome is teaching it now, but it's at White Orchid, and so I spent probably 2 years teaching the cancer patients from Mies and Martin Plant, and I think more than anything, just like the breathings, the tools that they can use to lower their anxiety, because there is a lot of anxiety that goes along with this. So, just little things they can do while they're sitting and waiting in those very stressful doctor's appointments. White coat hypertension. You get in the doctor's office and your anxiety level goes up to here. What are you about to hear? You've had some bad experiences in these places before. So,
right.
yeah, I think that, anything you can do to just kind of chill that out a little bit is awesome.
Sure. So you were able to have those conversations with people going through that same thing.
Yeah. It was nice. It was nice to talk to, these patients and help them in any way I could.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people now? So you give them some tips from yoga, the breath, or do you suggest that they research other therapies? Yeah,
definitely. And people these days want to know more about different types of therapies and should I do this and should I do that, and, it is a very personal decision. So, and there is a lot out there. So I think being just the most informed you can be is the best.
Of course. Yeah. And I think, choosing a care facility that has those options. And, now we come to your current day life, and you've lost your dad to cancer as well.
Yeah. So that was the part where I got to be the family member. Because when my mom died, I was so young, I really wasn't a participant. I was just kind of an observer of what was going on. But with my dad dying, he died two and a half years ago, I was really taking him to appointments and taking care of him and trying to make him eat. And I felt like it was worse. It was worse being a family member than when I was the patient. So, all these people out there who have cancer, their family members, are suffering just as much, if not more, than they are.
Right.
It's so hard, and so many people have this and are going through it. So, they need help.
They do. And we'll come back and we'll talk about what we can do for them. So stay put, guys. We'll be right back with more from Calley Masson, and we'll talk more about her tips for anyone who might be experiencing cancer themselves or who have a loved one who is. We'll be right back.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor, Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go over to the dollar, because the dollar is going to be the generator. It is the generator of basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the dollar has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, has just gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, everybody. I'm here with Calley Masson, cancer survivor and amazing yoga instructor. And Calley actually supports a philanthropy known as Survivor Summit. So, Calley, tell us a little bit more about this organization.
The Survivor Summit, it is affiliated with Livestrong, and my brother just did this amazing trip with them. So they put together trips for cancer survivors and family members of cancer survivors. And everyone who goes on these trips has to raise money. I think they're supposed to raise at least $10,000, so it's a big fundraising event. Mm-hmm. And so the trip my brother just went on was they all went up and trekked Kilimanjaro.
Awesome.
Which is awesome. And a lot of these people had just finished their chemo maybe like 4 or 5 months beforehand, and then they're going up. So it really is a source of hope and inspiration. And I think what's cool about the fundraising aspect of it, when you click on the donate button, mm-hmm. you can choose where you want your money to go.
Okay.
So if you want it to go towards research and drugs and stuff like that, you can choose that. If you'd rather have it go towards patients and their families being able to come and support them during their treatments, you can, and there's a whole list of things you can pick from. So I think that's really cool.
It's so important, not to harp on this topic, but let's face it, the health bills are oftentimes a big point of concern for anyone going through this type of experience.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times if you're going to one of these really cancer specialty hospitals, they're not in your hometown, and mm-hmm. the patient needs their family there to feel strong, and the family wants to be there to mm-hmm. Show support. So
okay, yeah. I think that's a good point, to be able to go and help the donate to the mm-hmm. patients' families themselves.
Yeah.
I know, so that they can be together. We were talking about that before the break, and you said as when your father actually had cancer, mm-hmm. and then you were actually the caregiver for him, the mm-hmm. family member. Let's talk about that both ways. What can family members do, mm-hmm. first of all, to support the patient?
Yeah, I think...
and friends, for that matter.
Yeah. With friends, I found that when I was the patient, and maybe it was because I was young and 21-year-old kids don't know how to really kind of react to that, but a lot of people just felt weird or nervous or didn't know what to say to me, so they just kind of dropped off the radar. And that really hurt me a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like, where are my friends?
So what would you want a friend to say to you? Because I know a lot of
or
us
nothing.
just be there. Just be there.
Yeah, just be there and be silly. And but with family members, you just want to be around them.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be you know, amazing trips or, you know, creating the most special memories in the world, but just being there and being supportive and helping them be strong. And I mean, with my dad, a lot of it was me just cooking for him and begging him to eat and trying to come up with creative ways to make him want to eat.
Yeah, it's draining. I know they say with many diseases that the caregivers actually suffer a lot, you know, in some ways, at least mentally, as much as the patient.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's exhausting, I know.
Yeah.
And then as family members, so let's say, you know, we as friends or we as family members have a friend or a patient in our lives, and then what can we do to stay strong and support each other?
Yeah, I think the family members definitely need to make time for themselves and not just be in 100% nurse mode.
Yeah.
You know, you have to carve out that time so that you are healthy and strong and have energy and feel rejuvenated so that you can go back and share that with them. So whatever it is, if it's running, if it's walking, if it's going to the beach, if it's going to yoga and meditating, you know, whatever it is where you can just kind of leave that situation, don't think about it, and
fill yourself up.
Yeah, exactly.
We talk a lot about that in yoga, that you can't give from an empty well.
Yeah.
And so if you need to keep giving to someone, anyone in your life, it's important that you fill yourself up. So it's really good advice.
And not feel selfish for doing that. You know, you don't need to be there 24/7.
Yeah.
Even if it is a rough day, you know, you do need to take care of yourself.
Oh, I'm sure that's so hard.
Yeah.
So here you are, man, and I tell you, I'm so grateful to know you, and you know, you really are such a shining light. You're a positive influence on people. You know, we talk about when Calley walks into the yoga studio, there's a laugh and a hug always. And so how would you say that this? The reason I asked this question is I just read this article by Jack Kornfield, right? The beautiful Buddhist teacher who says that to be an enlightened being, we have to have gratitude for even the hardships of life.
Yeah.
Do you feel you were able to do that?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you
Maybe
feel
not right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely, it kind of showed me at a really young age, which is also something to be grateful for. I didn't live my whole life miserable or a grump and then get this later and then realize how I wanted to live. You know, it showed me at a really young age what was important to me and what I was going to value. And I was going to value quality of life over things, over, you know, being the best at my job or working crazy hours. You know, I was going to do things that made me happy, live places where I could be in nature and be beautiful places, and just try to enjoy everything and not take people for granted.
Beautifully said. Oh, getting teary-eyed. And so it doesn't matter if you drive to the beach to paddleboard in a Mercedes or on a bike, right?
Exactly. And I don't even have to go to the beach every day, but I drive by and it's there and I can see it and I know it's there. And, you know, I'm not landlocked somewhere miserable where I don't want to be. Yeah. You know, because I could make more money there.
Right. Oh, man, Calley, it's so beautiful. So what are your tips then for people who are experiencing this or going through this?
Okay, so the first one, I think I've said it over and over and over again. Be positive. Be as positive as you can be. Try to find, you know, even if it's day by day, if you've got to break it down hour by hour, just try to find little things that can be, you know, brightness in your day. And then second is to believe those things. You know, as I was telling myself, I'm not sick, I'm not sick. You know, I couldn't have it just be this pie-in-the-sky idea. I had to kind of make it my reality. I had to really, really believe it. So even if these positive things you're telling yourself don't seem like they're attainable, make yourself believe them.
Right. Man, I just, for those of you with children who are listening, I think that's such an important lesson to teach our children, that, you know, the power of the mind, you know, and because I talk about this so much with my kids now, and I was just having this conversation with my daughter. She said, "Mommy, I'm going to be president. She's 5.5.
Yay!
And you know, my son said, well, maybe not. I said, well, maybe so. You know,
why not?
If you put your mind to it, it might happen. And then, you know, we went back and forth. Well, it might not. Well, sure, it might not.
But
you
think
know,
about if it could.
why not focus on the fact that it could? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Believe it, believe it, baby.
Believe it. And then find the things and do the things that bring you happiness, bring you joy, bring you love. If you're going through something scary, something life-threatening, you're going to have a lot of scary times, stressful times, times where you feel depressed, times where you have no control, you feel weak. So if you can just do things that make you happy, surround yourself with people that make you happy, you know, take it when you can get it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about for you? So when I think of Calley, I think of being outdoors, animals. I think about you and your relationships. I mean, you really invest in those important relationships in your life.
Yeah.
And
that's important. I remember, it's funny that as soon as you said that, it just clicked in my head. I used to be a chef, and I was working at a restaurant, and this was, Matt is my boyfriend. We've been together for 14 years, and his dad had cancer, and his dad had brain cancer or lung cancer that went to his brain, and that's a really quick kind of cancer.
So he lost his dad.
So he lost his dad.
And that was while you were dating?
That was while we were dating.
How long had you been together?
We had been together at that point probably 5 years.
Okay.
But I was working at this restaurant in Dallas, and we found out this was probably before he died, but when his dad was sick, and Matt wanted to go visit his dad, and I asked my boss if I could go, and the answer was no. You know, we're really busy, you can't leave. And I was like, okay, I quit.
Wow.
And one of the waiters came up to me and was like, I just really admire that you valued your relationship with Matt and his feelings over some job. You know, was it a great job? It wasn't a great job, but you know, you put things that are important.
It
first.
does. Priorities. Prioritize.
Yeah. So
it makes you think about those people that you love who are important in your life. You know, and we should be thinking about those relationships anyway.
I know.
Before even going through something like that. But oftentimes it kind of takes that shock factor to go, whoa, let me just stop the cars. You know, put the brakes on for a minute and reprioritize. How am I spending my time? You know, with whom am I spending my time?
Am I just wasting, you know, going through the grind?
Passing the days,
valuable?
Passing the days, day to day, longing for something else, longing for something more, wishing we were someplace else. And, you know, we talk so much about that in mindfulness, which, you know, we develop through yoga and meditation, or simply just pausing and, as you said, redirecting the mind into this present moment and finding the beauty that's here and now. And I think that helps you realize, whoa, who am I and what am I doing and what's important to me.
And that's funny because that was like my next tip. It was to incorporate some kind of meditation. Even if that's not what you're calling it, even if it's not what you think you're doing, some kind of practice where you are tuning in, noticing your thoughts, noticing your reactions, and just kind of taking stock.
Being introspective.
Yeah, being introspective, exactly. And then the last thing I would say was just to kind of study yourself, study your thoughts and your attitudes and your behaviors, study how you're reacting to things, and ask yourself if this was the person you want to be, if this was the person who you thought you would be, and if it's not, just change it. Just kind of little tweaks. You know, be a little more patient, be a little friendly, say hi to everyone you see today. And that will just kind of ease the load of your treatment and your family member. You know, it'll make things a little lighter.
Definitely. So do you feel like that is your sort of motto for life now? How am I living? Be the person you want to be.
Be the person you thought you would be.
Wow. It's so powerful. Oh my gosh. And it's true. I mean, you know, to not turn around and take out maybe the anger or the fear, because oftentimes that can then direct how we're living.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Fear drives a lot.
Yeah, but instead, live it with love.
Yeah.
And so you said that you're able, even though you yourself have been through it, Matt's, your boyfriend's father, both of your parents lost to cancer. Do you feel like you're able to sort of forgive that experience in your life, or do you have anger at all toward it? When you hear that word cancer?
A lot of times I'll post on my Facebook page, F you cancer. I think I have a hat that says F you cancer. But no, I mean, I can take away from my experience. I'm still not quite there where I'm able to take anything away from my dad. That's still a little fresh and a little raw. But I mean, I did get to spend a lot of time with him and, take care of him a lot, which was great, Maybe if he wasn't sick, I wouldn't have been with him every weekend or, you know. So maybe there is something.
A blessing. I mean, we should all be that lucky to get to care for the people who brought us into this world. And while it's not the situation you would pray for or ask for, I think it's amazing and inspirational that you can see that as a blessing.
Yeah.
So you are a dedicated yogi, practitioner and teacher.
Yes.
And I'd love to know why that's important to you today. What are you getting out of yoga and
it's helping
teaching?
Me, to be the person that I want to be so much. I love that I have something that I'm dedicated to, that I look forward to, that I have like a ritual every morning. I love that it helps me it's a mirror, it helps me to see me, to know me, to know my patterns and my fears and face things that I'm scared of.
Right.
So yeah.
It's not just a good stretch or a push-up.
No. And that's what it was at first. At first it was something that was going to help me with my running, but it's way better than that. It's
so
way
much
deeper.
more than
It's
that.
so much more than that.
Yeah, and your meditation practice, I mean, you're a dedicated meditation practitioner
so
now.
I've been practicing TM.
And
And
Transcendental Meditation for our listeners who may not know what TM is. Excuse me. And so where did you study TM?
well, I learned that from Narsiam, who is he's in India, in Mysore, India, and he came and visited us at White Orchid, and so I worked with him.
Okay. That's a beautiful, meditation, I'm with you. I mean, there are so many scientific studies, sound scientific evidence that show that meditation helps with all the things that you've talked about, redirecting our mind away from pain and toward healing, which can actually help with the symptoms of pain and help ground you and release anxiety and depression, which, people who might be battling cancer might be faced with.
I mean, it's something so easy that not that meditation is easy, but it's something that you just need to set aside some time, and it works. Even if you feel like, oh, I was not focused today. I mean, just keep doing it, and I mean, it really, really works. It's amazing.
It's so true. I agree with you wholeheartedly. So what are your dreams as a yoga teacher? You've been to India now twice in the last 2 years.
Yes, and I'm hoping to go back at the end of this year, maybe for a little longer, maybe for 2 months this time. I don't know. Just want to keep practicing and keep teaching and keep sharing the love. And
I mean, Calley's dedicated. She's up at 3:30 in the morning to do her own practice and then go teach way before the sun.
Yep. But I like it.
That takes passion.
At first, when I first started waking up that early to practice before teaching, I didn't think I was going to be able to sustain it. I was like, let me just see how this feels. And but now I'm really liking it. I mean, when that alarm goes off or when I'm setting it the 3:15 every night, I'm a little, oh, why am I doing this? But as soon as I'm up and I'm driving there and everything's quiet and peaceful, it really is a special and magical time to take that time for myself.
Definitely.
And then I feel like I'm ready and prepared to share with all the students that start coming in at 6.
That's right. And you can find out more about Calley and her teaching at whiteorchidyoga.com, where you've been teaching now for how many years?
Since 2009.
Wow. Ashtanga yoga, which is both the style that we both practice and love and believe in wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Allie was my first Ashtanga teacher. Allie introduced me to Ashtanga.
And now I come to your classes. So I love that. I love that about yoga. It teaches us that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And again, your energy is so very healing. It is beautiful to be around. And I know sometimes people who are put in that position sometimes feel this pressure. Do you ever feel pressure to be this positive, happy? Do you ever feel like...
I don't think so. I mean, sometimes if I'm, you know, not having a great day and I feel like, oh, I've got to go to the studio, but just being there, I don't have to force it or fake it. Just being there, it just kind of is like, yay, you know, I'm happy to be here. Everyone that comes in is happy, is grateful, you know, so it's a really good, it's a good place to be.
It is.
It's a good healing place. The energy feels amazing there.
Definitely. Yeah, even on your rough days, Calley, you're still very sweet and happy. So again, I want to just drive people to check out that philanthropy that you are involved in and supporting, that your family's involved in, survivorsummit.org, which the members of go on trips to raise money for those trips, achieving incredible feats like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. You can choose how you'll direct your donation at Survivor Summit, so whether you would like to support patients and their families or the cancer research, or they have a number of options there, right?
They have a number of options, yeah.
Yeah, so it is a very important cause. And I think, you know, with the number of people who are still touched by cancer today, it's the more we can all do together as a society, the better.
Yeah. It's almost like inescapable. Everybody knows somebody who is touched by it. So.
Definitely. And I want to stay strong for people who are challenged with this, because it really does not serve anyone to sit and think of the negatives and, you know, the negative outcomes which could be.
And it's really easy to do that. It's really easy to get negative, get sad, get depressed.
Sure.
It's hard to stay strong and be positive, but it's hard. It's worth it.
It so is worth it. And that energy people feel. I mean, we're all connected.
Yeah.
So find a way, folks, to stay positive, whether it's through yoga and meditation or, you know, reading inspirational quotes each morning that inspire you to be happy and think positive and send out love and compassion to all beings. And Calley, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We need to do our shot.
Yes, we do. This is our beautiful, healthy green drink for the day. It's got apples, mangoes, pineapple, wheatgrass.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, it's got kale and spinach. So cheers to all of our listeners, and cheers to your health, to the health of all our listeners who are with us today. Next week, we have a beautiful show. The Queen of Karma Yogis is joining us. She is spreading love and light around the world through projects such as building schools for children in Haiti, taking people on trips to see other philanthropies around the world, and she also directs Michael Franti's Do Up to the Life Foundation. So join us next week for more mindful living. Until then, we wish you health and happiness from the inside out. Thanks for joining us. Namaste.
Thank you. Cheers. Cheers.
This is TFNN.